So yeah, we're doing it live. So to get into it, I think part of the reason that stemmed me even wanting to maybe do this is a friend of mine was going through a breakup and he was in a 4-year relationship.
Hmm.
And since he was 14 and he's 18 now. Yeah. So
Like
like
the whole span of
his whole his whole persona and everything revolves around this girl. And sometimes while I was talking to him, he was like, fuck this. I fucking this is dumb. I hate everything. But then, he'd be like, yeah, but and I'm like, but the good times were good. And you gotta always remember like the good times. Don't resent the ending of it all because it's that's not cherishing. And then I was like, and a
development.
big part of who you are now as an adult is what you were like, with her. So like,
Yeah.
and when you're hanging out with new girls in the future, like she's gonna be in every story from 14 to 18. Like she's gonna be there in every story. So I was like,
Hmm.
try not to like sound like the guy is not over his ex, but anyone should be knowledgeable and understand that like he has no choice.
Yeah. Bradley, that actually reminds me of a client that I had who came
Okay.
in. And he was with his girlfriend for his whole span of like development, like throughout high school and the
Yeah.
first couple years of college.
Yeah.
And he finally broke up with her, and he's like he couldn't get over her and he couldn't understand why. And he's trying to deny that he loved her and deny that he wanted her and deny all these things. I'm like, why do you have to deny
Right.
love?
Accept
Like,
it.
accept
Accept
it.
that you did
She
love.
was a valuable part of your life. She was so
Mm.
important to you. She was
Mm-hmm.
part of your past. You're never going to be 16 years old again.
No.
You got to share that. And how
Yeah.
beautiful it is, you know,
Yeah.
to cherish the time that you had. It's a beautiful thing.
And your development and who you are now is partly her doing, not wholly or even, the greater of the sum, but part of who you are is definitely,
For sure.
what you became together and what you learned through her. You learned how to go to parties as a couple and handle other couples or handle, getting hit on. You learned how to, I don't know, just deal with relationships in general. And the experience that you learn in this relationship, you will take to the next, red flags, things to look for, things not to look for,
Things you
you
like,
know?
things that you
Yeah.
found you really enjoy about the person.
Yeah. And
How would
it's
you
like,
know
hey, I
unless
learned a lot about me. I learned a lot about the things that I'm into and that I like. So I will seek that out. And like this is one of the things you can't live without. Like, boom, that you just can't live without something like that. But
what
that
are
changes too. I used to think there was things that I couldn't live without that also like, all right, I'm more accepting of and I don't need those attributes. Those were greedy, selfish young me that wanted these things, but I know that no one's perfect and you find what you find that way.
yeah. Bradley, what do you need out of a relationship? I'm just curious. Like
Oof.
what do you really, really, really need in
No,
order
for
for
real. I
that
mean,
to
if
stay
I knew,
in
that's a good question. What
Oh
do
man.
I need?
No, I sat down one day and wrote down my top 5 relationship needs, which actually ended up being 6. Um,
Yeah,
and one of them, what God, I wish I had the document. I should pull it up. But
yeah,
one of them was
that's all
like
right.
unconditional acceptance.
Uh-huh.
Like just I didn't realize how important that was for me. It was, I make mistakes. I'm a fallible person. I'm a fragile person. And I need my partner to be able to accept that I'm not a perfect person.
Right.
That unconditional acceptance, like sometimes I get bloated and I have a little belly, and sometimes I feel icky, or sometimes I get irritable. Um, but to accept that I am trying to be the best possible version of myself for
Well,
that
and
person.
that's just human anatomy. That's just
Yeah,
human. That's just, I mean, everybody is their worst critic.
yeah,
I don't know, you always come down on yourself the hardest. You need to understand that there's not this epitome of whatever beauty and like even those girls, when they sit down and lean forward, they have a belly too, everyone does. Like
speak for
that's
yourself.
natural beauty. And yeah, no one's looking for Prince or Princess Charming. Me personally though, um I'm difficult because I had a recent revelation where I got not teary eyed, but I was talking to my roommate and I was like, I could feel that I could have let a cry out if I want. And I'm like, nope, we're men. Nope, we're not doing
Why'd you
that
hold
right now.
back?
Well, what it was is I realized that I just want to be somebody's number one. I don't feel like I ever have been. And
Oh,
in a few of my relationships, I think so. But in a few of them, I could name key points where I just wasn't number one. You know, people put their family first. And a big problem for me being 33, I'll be 34 in 5 days, mind you.
Happy birthday.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. But
Yeah.
no, it's hard to put someone else first. I get that. But to like be someone else's number one, like women have children typically around 30 or so, 32, 33. So
Mhm.
I never want to get in front of them and their kids, you know. And I've hung out with a few girls who have children, and it's like, oh, we can't hang out. Like I was talking to one girl now for 2, 3 months, and
Mhm.
we have yet to hang out
Mhm.
because between work and finding a sitter or her kid, she just can't find the time. And
Yeah.
to me, I'm like, in the end, when are you going to have time to have a boyfriend?
Mhm.
You know, when am I going to come into the picture? I mean,
Right.
unless you want me to just, you know, show up and be a guy who visits you once every couple of weeks and hang out and watch Netflix, I get that. But
Well,
I, I dating wise, I don't see how it could happen. Like you could never put me first. You could never make time for me. And I don't need a lot of time because I am fairly independent,
yeah.
but I don't know.
Bradley, I'm gonna grab a pen and paper because I think that's an amazing topic. Is like
Okay.
dating at the age of 30 and how even now, like I also notice that when I go on dates,
Mhm.
a lot of my potential partners have kids.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm gonna grab a pen and
Yeah.
paper.
Yeah. 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 Go ahead. I'm just gonna keep talking to keep busy.
I
Oh,
think
okay.
it's an amazing topic, maybe for this podcast, maybe for another one.
Mhm.
But dating over 30 and then and kids.
Yeah.
Um,
And I
and like
never want to get in the way of that. I want them to have their kids. Like you have that special relationship with your child. I get that. And you made that decision with someone else. I'm
mhm,
sorry that that someone else didn't turn out to be what you wanted, but
yeah,
you still put your kid first. But now you want me to come into the picture? Like I have to accept that I will always be third place, or if she has kids, fourth, fifth place, you know, or a dog that you've had for 8 years. And now I'm a person walking into this,
yeah,
you know, and where am I going to stack up? Not real high up. When we were younger, we were all 16, 18.
mhm,
You're the only thing that I had, you know. I had a girlfriend at, 18. Boom, we do everything together. And she was more clingy than me, and that caused issues in the end. But
mhm,
I like some level of that. Like I want to be your number one, your only one. When you want to go camping or go to the movies, you ask me first, hey, or my friends are doing this, you're coming with. Like you know that their partner's coming with when you involve them. And in past relationships, that's not how it's been, and I don't like that. I do like to be not the center of attention, but you're number one and you're my number one. Like I would drop anything and do something for you at any time, and vice versa. You
yeah.
know,
You want that unconditional faith that your partner's going to be there for you, no
right?
matter what. Like if you call them, they are able to pick up the phone. They know that they should call you back as soon as they can.
Uh huh.
And that if there's an emergency, that's your emergency contact. That's the person that you
Right.
want by the hospital bed when you're sick. That's the
Right.
person you want to share life with. You want to go through the good parts and share the challenging parts.
Mhm.
That's your person. You want them to be there to support you.
Right. Now, if we're in a thing and like the first person you call is your ex-husband because you got to talk about the kids, or you call your sister first before you call me,
Mhm.
that's part of growing up too after 30, like we were saying, is like, I got to accept the fact that you have stronger bonds with your family members and your children
Mm.
than you're going to with me. So I understand that I won't be your only, but to me, I think I always say like modern day wizard is what I would say about myself, but or at least social, whatever. But like I can see the issues very early, and I can see like, oh, like I could never be your number one. Like the girl I'm talking to, 3 months, she's got like a 2-year-old son.
Mhm.
I mean, if the kid's like 10 or 12, you can let them start living their own life, and you can be like, hey, I'm going to give Brad this weekend. You're going to go hang out at your friend's house. That's
Mhm.
fine. But two, like, no, I would never be able to step in between a mother and a 2-year-old. And then again, if you put that me before that 2-year-old, I'd think less of you as a person.
So Bradley, the interesting thing about this discussion is I completely disagree with you.
Yeah.
Because I think that there's an equality when it comes to love. So let's say I don't have kids, but let's say
Mhm.
I did,
Uh-huh.
uh, and maybe this makes it me unavailable to comment because I don't have children. But if I had a partner and if I had the potential of growing with that partner and having a long-term relationship with that partner, the love for I have for my partner, although a different type of love, is just as much as a priority as it is my love of my child. And I
Oh
feel
yeah.
like if you were married to someone and you shared children that with that person and you had a monogamous marriage, would my husband come before my kids, or does my kids come before my husband? I was like, in
Mm.
my mind, they're equals. So why would a romantic relationship be different, I guess? And I think you were talking about the bond that it already exists. You're like, how do
Mhm.
I get into that bond when I don't stand a chance against the bond that you already have with your
True.
kids?
See,
And
I
I
think of it more, and I
mm,
disagree with the equality thing because I
mm,
feel like it's hard for someone to equally commit time without draining themselves too thin and still giving themselves time. I think you should still, like I said, put yourself first in all these scenarios, you know. Um, but
boundaries.
when when you have if you have a kid with someone, you're
Mhm,
both willing to accept that you might not be able to do some of the things you were once able to do. We're not going to be able to travel every year. Maybe it'll be every other, you
mhm,
know, and like, I'm going to be up nursing, she'll be up nursing and, I'll be asleep and then we'll do shifts with the baby, like the baby cries, it's my turn to get it. It's my turn to feed him.
aw,
You know what? Neither of us have seen our friends or family in months. Like,
mhm,
you go this weekend, I'm going to go next weekend, but you find it hard to find time together,
mhm.
at least very early. Once the child is a little older, you can trust them more with sitters and stuff.
I
But
find that so interesting because I really do disagree. I come from a divorced family and a blended family. So
okay.
my mother has a husband, my father has a girlfriend, she's got kids. And I have, like, beyond a shadow of a doubt that if I reached out to my stepmother, if I reached out to my stepfather, that they would be there for me, that I am,
Mhm.
even growing up, I was a priority for them.
Mm.
But my mom didn't have to choose between her kids and her husband. It was everybody was a family unit. Everybody was willing to invest in each other. And I feel like if that's the case, then you know what? You don't have to pick.
Yeah. I guess I just had a lot of, and I mean, that could be a whole segment in itself. It's just all the shitty dates and relationships I've been on, but I've been in a lot of shitty situations with
Yeah.
women who it was always a choice. One of the more recent ones was like, I don't want you to meet my son yet. And I was like, I completely understand because I've gone into that scenario before and built a
Mhm.
bond with the child. And now not
Yeah.
only am I breaking up with you or you're breaking up with me, but now I got to sever this with this child who doesn't really understand
Oh
why
my God.
we can't be friends anymore.
So sad because I've heard many tales about that.
Mhm.
Even growing up and like my father dating women and me bonding with the other kids, like the
Oh,
her
right.
my father's girlfriend's
Hmm.
kids, and growing up with them for like 5 years, and all of a sudden they're gone. And
And
I'm
you're
like,
not siblings anymore. And be like, what do you mean? We're
what, how,
always going to be siblings. And
yeah, right. You
usually
didn't
you reconnect later and things are cool, but
Yeah, I didn't spend 10 years with this person for him not to be my brother, you know.
right.
Just because you're my father's girlfriend's son, you're still my brother.
Yeah.
And it's really, I guess, the perspective that you take. But I hear you when you say, Bradley, that you want to be someone's number one. You want to be a priority. You want to be just as important as
Hmm.
their kids. And you deserve that. Everybody does. If they're
Right.
dating somebody with kids, yeah, you want to be just as important. And it's true that that connection takes a little bit of time. And I guess how much time it takes and how much time, if they're willing to invest and willing to make each other a part of the family, it really depends on the person. It really depends on the dynamic. It depends on the relationship. It depends on the kids. There's so many moving obstacles that are much more complicated than just you and me. You
Hmm.
know, that's it's a pain in the ass, is what it is.
Yeah.
Is it worth
Yeah.
it? I think so.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, I've been single almost 3 years now. And usually when I get into a relationship, you know, it's good. It's good when it's good, but it's because I have to shrug off a lot of, bad or
Mhm.
unagreeable situations. And like, I'm totally okay with red flags, seeing them and just calling them out and being like, yep, nope. A recent girl that I was hanging out with, I was like, you know what? You are too needy. You just want too much of my time. you get frustrated with me when I don't text you back and I'm at work. I'm like, some days at work, I have some time, and a lot of days I don't. So it
Mhm.
was like, I can't message you every time you message me because you need me. That's very needy. Ugh.
As we're talking about needy, she's like laying on me. Like,
Uh,
you
it'd
do
be
things
so much
like
awkward without camera. We'll probably have to leave it in. Um, but
yeah.
yeah, no, it's
Mm.
difficult because like I can see that and I can call it and I can say it, and a lot of
Mhm.
girls might get frustrated or whatever. You know what I've noticed too
Mm.
is a lot of times I end up just becoming friends
Mhm.
and just becoming friends with these girls, and we are just friends because I see like why we wouldn't work out. I don't know, it goes both ways. Friends, or they totally blow up and can't handle it or want to talk at all. But
Mm.
yeah, I don't know, finding someone who I don't see any red flags with. And I mean, most of them are just like, yeah, I could never be your number one. Like, oh, you every weekend you go hang out at your parents' house. So like obviously they're before me and your kids are before that. And it's like,
Yeah.
what if I don't get along with your parents and I meet them? And I mean, I usually hit it off great. I'd say one of the bigger dating tips for younger boys would be always get in with the mom. Get in with the
Why is
mom
that?
and you should be good. Oh,
Yeah.
because mom's in her ear all the time,
Ooh. Ooh,
you
I just
know?
again, this is gonna be an awesome podcast if we're like disagreeing,
Because,
constantly disagreeing with each other. Um,
yeah.
I love my family, but I would say that my father's more in my ear. Maybe it's because
Oh,
we
and
live.
that's true too. For girls, that's true too. Get in with
Oh,
both parents, I guess.
yeah. Parents are important. They're like
They are.
if my parents hated my partner, he wouldn't stand a chance.
No, I agreed. In most girls' decision making, guys probably could care less, but girls, very important because family is usually very important.
Yeah. I think
If
for guys,
family is important to someone, what their parents think about you is really going to be big. I know of at least one relationship I can name right now where the mother and the guy's girlfriend got into a fight, and he's basically like, if you can't fix this, we can't be together. And they were together for like another year. And he
Mhm.
told me that it just drove him mad constantly, just it was always heavy on his mind because he's a big family guy. And if his girlfriend and mother couldn't reconcile, it was going to just continue to be issues and you know abrasive. But yeah, I always say get in with the parents. I always bring a bottle of wine. They love that. And I think that whenever you meet somebody for the first time too, I always just bring about, like, even if it's a winking owl and
Yeah.
brand name dropping, but like a $5-6 bottle of wine, like, who cares?
I was dating this guy and I brought a bottle of wine to meet his family, and the brand was Menage a Trois.
Okay.
And the mom was like, "Did you just get us a bottle for Menage a Trois?" Like, she's like, "What are you trying to tell us?" I'm like, I didn't mean it like that. I heard it was a good brand. Like, I don't know.
Menage a
I, didn't-
trois? Like, I don't know. Like, what?
I don't know. She's like, "Are you trying to tell me something about yourself?" I'm like, "I don't know. I'm sorry.
I
I'm
don't
not."
know. No. Why are you reading into it?
Knowing what I know now about myself, I'm not surprised.
Yeah. Also true. Knowing what I know about myself. We can tell some more stories later off the record.
What it is, recording, not recording. That'd be fun. Like when we got a following, be like, let's talk about our sex life.
Yeah. That
Maybe,
would be
maybe.
a good one. That'd be a good one too.
I'll
Maybe a
write that
couple
down
episodes in or something. People are
for
like,
yeah,
all right, that I want to hear.
might
This may be the hook.
be.
That may be the hook. Now hearing that, they may be like, ooh,
I would be happy
I
to
want to
talk about
stick
my sex
around for that one. Yeah, me too.
because I actually do have a fairly private sex life. I think not
Hmm.
private in that, like, I think the partners that I have or had are fairly private.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I don't like post about it on social media or anything
Oh,
like.
yeah.
It's yeah.
And that's the thing too, is I don't mind talking to an extent as well, but after some point you're like, what
Mhm.
if something big were to happen and this were to be people like listening to us, and then it'd be like, well, you got to take and accept that, at this point. But
Well,
yeah, I would say in short, this last year has been very changing for me,
mhm.
sex relationship wise.
Ooh,
And
dating during the pandemic.
okay, true, but and that was rough. But I've actually gotten like $2,000 worth of like tattoo work done,
Ooh.
and I've been working on myself and going to the gym and stuff. So I have like a beard now, and I'm studly. Too bad the camera's not on. You can't even,
Right, right.
even
Sexy Bradley. Ooh la la.
can't even see it. But so things have changed in that perspective. Whereas, I was typically always the chaser, and
Hmm.
now I'm the chasee in certain
Ooh.
scenarios. So I need to be careful because you can't just be like, hey, you've been single for 3 years. Something good comes along, someone wants to make something, like you can't just jump on that. Like, and I'm pretty good about it because I can see the red flags and I'm like, this is why I couldn't do it, like too needy, you need too much of my time, you know, or other things like that. Like you could never put me first. And that's coming back to that is, I don't know, to me kind of selfish. I don't know. It's kind of sucks because like I want them to put me first. So it's like if you have a kid, I'm more inclined to say no, if you have other obligations. Like, I don't know, you see it in movies, whether it's that real or not, but someone who puts so much time into their work, they work 60 hours a week and they have
Hmm.
no time for anything or anyone else.
Hmm.
So it's like, why would I date someone who spends 60 hours a week? I mean, if you enjoy your job and do it, that's fine, but why would I
Bradley,
get into a relationship with someone like that?
I wonder if you would like the traditional like 1940s, 1950s housewife who's just there to cook for you.
I'll tell you what, I'm gonna disagree with you on that. I'm gonna throw this back at you and say I wouldn't mind being a house dad, to be
I
honest.
have a house husband. That's like my dream.
Yeah,
It,
I
it
would
really.
love to be a house husband because I always keep my stuff really clean,
Uh,
and I've always taken care of my siblings. I'm the oldest of four. I'm
mhm.
sure you know, but just to reiterate, I'm the
Yeah.
oldest of four, so I always took care of the youngest two growing up. And I mean, making meals and taking care of them, we can get into all that
Yeah.
craziness later, but making meals at a young age where kids shouldn't have to be doing it, but changing diapers and babysitting when, you obviously wouldn't trust anyone else, but because they're, siblings, you let them. But yeah,
Mhm.
no, I would totally love. I've talked to other girls about that too, but I don't know. To me, it's at least out where I live, kind of out in the boonies area. It's just non-traditional, and
Mhm.
it's harder to find. I feel like if I move in more to the city where there's more opportunities for successful business women, that'd be something I could find easier.
I think the cultural shift of independent women and women, like I know a lot of friends who are, I have friends who are house husbands. They really
Yeah,
enjoy, they enjoy like the woman going to work and he stays home and takes care of the kids, cleans the house. He gets the opportunity to be the dad he always wanted and have
right.
rewarding for him.
Yeah.
So I've heard about those situations.
Like
And
I like doing the yard work, and I'm good at fixing sinks and toilets and
Mhm.
other than electrical. I haven't done too much in electrical, but all the different things you could do and add to a house and take care of. It's like,
Mhm.
I wouldn't mind doing all that stuff throughout the day and stuff, and making food. I like cooking, but if it's just me, I don't like cooking.
Mhm.
I'm gonna treat Brad to a cheese sandwich and a ham and cheese sandwich. I'm not gonna get all these dishes dirty, add all that extra stuff so I can make my eggs look, on point. When it's like, that's just too much work. Extra steps of cleaning and stuff too. It's gonna taste the same in the end. Just doesn't look fancy.
I'm taking notes.
You're good. But yeah, I really wouldn't mind being a stay-at-home dad, but that's always optimal, but I don't know. It depends on the scenario because I don't know if it's optimal. I also think I more gravitate towards someone who can at least be equal with me. I
Mm,
buy one dinner, you buy one dinner. That's ideally what I would look for.
yeah,
I
equality is
I
important.
don't like, and I've had this too many times before because I have a bad habit of grabbing someone who may need a little help and then helping them get their life on track, and then we end up parting ways anyway. And it's like, oh, I put a lot of time into that and a lot of money, and you know I get nothing but a broken heart out of it. So, but yeah, someone who can at least bring 50-50 to the table is always nice too.
Mhm. For
Like,
sure.
oh, we need a new couch. All right, I think so. Or, you know what? I really don't think so. I think our couches are great. If you want to go dump all of your money on this couch, that's fine. But I
Mm.
really don't think we need it. but I will help you move one in, you know?
Oh, Bradley, we've covered so many topics between like kids over 30,
True.
dating, the idea of talking about our sex lives eventually,
Yeah.
house husbands, taking care of siblings, dating during the pandemic.
Yeah. All
Mm,
kinds of things. And I could talk for hours, days. I don't
yeah.
know. I don't know how long we want to do segments, hour long maybe, and just
There's got to be like a call to action. Like, what are we going to really give back to our listeners that's going to be of value? That they're going to be like, oh, I really learned something today, or I'm really happy I listened to that. I got X, Y, and Z out of it. That's what I want to figure out.
and that's what I do, I would say in a professional term with one-on-one sessions. um, but because I have, man, I probably have like a one-on-one, like 3-4 hour conversation with someone like once a month.
Hmm.
And that's
Have you ever
just
thought
like,
about doing coaching?
um,
'Cause that's what I
I,
do now. Like, I'm obviously finishing up my PhD in clinical, not obviously,
that's the
but
thing is I have no professional qualifications, just
you don't need any. So you
street
cannot
qualifications, you know, I just
be,
seen enough.
yeah, we cannot legally call ourselves therapists or
Okay.
clinical psychologists
Right.
yet. Um, God, Bradley, honestly, if I had the money to send you to school to become a psychologist, I would.
Ah,
I
yeah.
really, really, really would.
Yeah.
Um, but let's say that like, what if, so we could do like a sales pitch at the end to be like, hey, if you wanted to talk to either of us one-on-one, um, we're
Well, I
available.
think what we should do, and what I thought this would be more of, now this is a great broad generalization for like a first listening for anyone listening, but I think that I would like to get into more specifics about um, certain conversations that I have had with, you know, after asking people would be okay with me. I mean, you know, I'm not going to get out enough details that anyone would know, but anyone who probably knows me would probably know who I'm talking about. But I'm sure a few of them would not care at all. But I can get into more specifics, like the most recent one with my buddy and his 4 year long relationship breakup. I just he was battling himself about, you know, like you said, good and bad, and what, you
Mhm.
know, what he should do. Let's we can go down that road now. Like we'll talk about like
Yeah.
breakups and advice you would give to someone who's in or out or leaving a 4 year relationship, and
Mhm.
anybody else who has been can probably agree with us on that, or the topics or points. But like not, like I said earlier, not saying it was all a waste and they wasted your time, because they didn't. And don't say that, because it's rude to them and it's rude to yourself, because then you're saying that you wasted your time. They didn't waste your time. You're saying that you knew from day one that you didn't want to be with them and you stayed with them anyway. So you wasted your time. You would be your own villain. So that's not true. You know, you enjoyed your time with them and you need to accept that. Take the good for what it was, and the bad is all lessons, you know, things to look for, red flags for you.
Yeah.
One of his things was jealousy. He did not appreciate or like the fact that she worked at a bar, and he told her a few times, and she seemed to shrug it off.
Mhm.
Now, he wasn't over controlling or overbearing and never said she could not. He just communicated very well, and said that it does disturb him.
Mhm.
And it didn't bother her enough to take any recognition to it. So
Mm.
maybe is that a red flag in itself, you know, for anyone in a relationship, is that I don't want you to do this thing and it's a personal thing for me, but you
Mhm.
know, why do you want to be a bartender? If she says, well, her excuse was, I make good money.
Mhm.
Well, you could probably make good money working a regular 9 to 5, 40 hour a week job, probably
Mhm.
more so.
Mhm.
So if you're saying it's for the money, it's like, I don't know, like you could make money at other places better. And her family owned a business and everything. So like she had easy access to good paying work.
Mhm. I think
So
in that context, it would be really important for me to let's say I was her, and would
Mhm.
I, well, if I was looking at that relationship, I would really want to see the woman in that context to validate his feelings. Like she doesn't have to stop working at the
Mhm.
bar. She doesn't have to fix the problem, but she does need to validate his concerns and say, "Sweetie, I hear you. You're worried. You're concerned about something, and there's these feelings of jealousy." And to ask, "Can you tell me more about that? Like, tell me more about what's going on for you. Tell me more about what brings up these feelings. Like, let's
Mhm.
really explore that together." And maybe that validation would have made a really big difference for him. But knowing that
Right.
she dismissing it, like that
Mhm.
hurts.
Yeah.
That's
Right.
not a healthy interaction. That's a very
It's
unhealthy
one
interaction.
thing to, yeah, like if she addressed it and said, "Hey, this is
Mhm,
an issue that's going on or an issue that you're having, and we talk about it and we address it and we fix it."
mhm,
But yeah, to dismiss it is not.
mhm. Emotions are always
Yeah.
valid. How we
Right.
react to them and how we express them, not valid, sometimes not legal.
Because maybe she had a way to express and say it that would make him go, okay, I understand where you're coming from and I understand why you want to work at a bar. What
Mhm,
if her excuse was, you know what? I like male attention and I want them to talk to me. And it's
mhm,
like, well, now that we're being honest, now we can talk about our relationship. Maybe I'm not okay with that.
mhm.
And that's okay. Maybe you need to find someone who is okay with that. I personally don't care. I don't care if a guy comes up to my girl, buys her a drink, talks to her all night, as long as he doesn't really touch her. And I know that at the end of the day, she's going home with me, so I have no insecurities about that. Like I don't care if 100 guys talk to her. It doesn't bother me any.
Yeah.
I
In
know
my
she's coming home with me, and I know she's loyal. So
yeah. In my experience, jealousy, well, in my understanding, jealousy is often rooted in an unmet need. Like it's something that's saying someone else has something I have, or something else, somebody else has something I want, and I
mhm,
want it. And so this feeling of jealousy comes up, and we go, and we get really jealous and envious, and we're not sure why even. But in this context, I suspect it's because I don't actually know, but I'm just brainstorming here that if he's jealous over her working at a bar, what could he be jealous over? That he has an unmet need that she's not providing.
right,
So I wonder
yeah,
what that,
and I mean that's just a deeper conversation that just needed to happen.
which didn't happen, sounds like, and then
Right.
broke up.
And I mean, I saw personality wise and had conversations with both of them actually previously while they were together. And kind of stemming from that, I was unsure if they would really make it a long time anyway. They both have different things in mind.
Hmm.
She wants to adventure a little bit and see the world. And he's more like, I gotta lock this job down. I want to be you know, White House, picket fence, 2.5 kids. He wants to
The
just
American
get
dream.
yeah, the American dream, and that's totally okay. And what I told him though, and this is another thing I would tell, because this is a situation that I was in. This is something that I would tell other younger people that are looking for that. Totally cool, totally acceptable. Now, you are though at an age where people are going to want to experiment either with drugs, alcohol, or partying, or socializing, or sex.
Mhm.
They're experimenting. You're 18. You're allowed to start having sex and doing that. Then you turn 21. Now you're experimenting with weed and alcohol and drugs and other things. So
You probably have a car.
he
You can go
he
anywhere.
being yeah, he
Yeah.
being 18 is very determined on getting that. And I said, it sucks. I've been single for 3 years myself. But you're probably going to be single for a while because
Mhm.
you're looking for someone who either has already had all that or doesn't see the value in it and is okay not experiencing that, not needing that like you don't, that adventure, crazy party, whatever. If they don't seek that out, then, you'll be fine for each other.
Yeah.
And then
I
you just got to hope that you don't have some sort of midlife crisis later, though. And like, I never got to live, et cetera, et cetera. So that's something you got to think about too. Are they at a mental state where they won't have this breakdown at 40? And think about that. But you can't go into a relationship now in your 20s thinking about, are they going to have a midlife crisis? Probably. Everyone probably will. Over what? Who knows? I had kids. I didn't have kids. I never got to travel. I didn't who
Mhm.
knows, you know.
Yeah. It's a matter of having similar long-term wants and desires. I guess in
Mhm.
order for a long-term relationship to work, you have to have similar long-term goals and
That's
desires.
good. That's very
Yeah.
true. That's very good. Yeah,
Yeah.
agreed. And if one person doesn't know what their long-term goals are, that's already like, yeah, like, okay, then you need time to figure that out. You don't know where you stand right now. So I do. I know exactly what I want. But yeah, sadly for him at 18, it's like, it's going to be rough
Yeah.
because it's going to be, yeah. So
I
I
had
know, I don't know, but I'll tell you this, it's worth it in the end. Don't make something hollow out of just the next thing you find, you know. Don't be like, oh, I found this girl, and just to fill that space for now, this cuddling and going out to movies and sex and stuff, like, don't just accept something for now just to get that out of someone, because you're eventually just going to end up emotionally hurting yourself and or them, you know. And it's just
making
like,
things
it's not
all-
fair. But that's the thing, is more people need to be aware of that, because a few times I've gone into just physical relationships and it's like, hey, I'm not emotionally available. Great. Neither am I. We could just keep this at the physical. That's great.
Mhm.
So, but I mean, that's harder for someone. I found that more at an older age. It's harder for someone at a younger age to do that, because a lot of times to let someone into the physical, you want the emotional as well.
I think it's like that no matter how old you are.
I guess it depends on the person.
Yeah. I meet 18-year-olds who are just really highly emotionally intelligent and want that emotional connection for sex. And then I meet men who are 70 years old who just want to have, like, it really depends.
Hmm.
Everyone's different and what they need at the time.
Yeah, and I think I'm both. I typically, it's, I don't really get much enjoyment out of it if I don't have some sort of connection with them. Like if I've seen you and we've had 2 or 3 conversations at the bar sometime, like maybe I could then, but I couldn't just like on opening night of meeting you be like, let's just go do what we got to do. Like I don't personally like that. I like to have some sort of connection with you, but I still think that you can have the shallow connection with someone. I currently do as well. Like
Mm.
we hang out, we talk about how work's been lately, you know, and then we do our business. So I don't think that we have a great desire to see each other or hang out or want to be anything, but we do have a shallow, I guess, emotional communication,
Mhm.
which I think is good as well. But I don't know, in my friend's case, it's just difficult to find, I think, someone who's willing to just leave it at that at a younger age. But
Hmm.
and also for what he's looking for, I think it's going to be some time. You got
So
to
what
find.
advice did you give him?
Just that.
Yeah.
And I told him, I was like, I don't want to break your heart, but I think that you may be single for a while. And I don't think you're looking for a unicorn, and I don't think you should change your ideals to not be lonely. Like I said, don't make something hollow, because you'll just regret it later. Or while you're with this hollow relationship, you may pass up someone that actually would have meant more to you, and
Hmm.
they may overlook you as well. So accept that you're single and be single for a while. And another thing that is going to be really hard for him, and maybe I should be there more for him, um, he's had her since 14. He's like, I got no friends. And I'm like, you got friends. You just don't see it. You don't know who's your friends, but you
Mhm.
haven't had to build anything stronger than a shallow friendship with anyone, because you've
Their
had
friend?
her forever.
They always shared. I'm guessing they always shared a friend group.
They're fairly both mature. I'll give them that. And they do have some together, but some separate. I think they were just each other's best friend, and that one's hard.
Oh,
Yeah.
when you lose your best friend,
Yeah, you're best.
you're
See, and I think, okay, so that gets back to like what I'm looking for. I think I am looking for someone who would be a best friend as well.
you
So we
want your.
have to have quite a few similar interests, I think.
Mhm.
That would just be my take on it. But Yeah, it's best friend slash girlfriend, best friend since 14 to 18. Like, I was like, you have to find yourself. And I was like, I know everyone's gonna give you the basic and say, you need to find yourself. Like, okay, no crap. I need to
Mhm.
find myself. Obviously, I need to learn to be alone and be happy alone. Right. How do I do that? Give me something more than that, is what, he needs to say. Like, give me something more than that. Hey, you'll be good, buddy. Like, in time. And he asked me at one point too, he's like, how long? And I was like, I don't know. It gets easier. It doesn't ever go away,
Yeah.
but
I remember during one of my breakups, everyone around me was like, "Oh, you have to be okay with being alone," and I exploded at these people. I'm like, "What the fuck does that even mean? What
yeah.
is it supposed to mean?" I was like, "There's no book out there that says, oh, be okay being alone." I was like, "All right." So I sat down and I thought about it, and I thought, being okay being single means I'm gonna go to events by myself and probably have a good time. I'm gonna reach out to my friends when I need a hug or when I want company.
Uh-huh.
Not that I need a romantic partner to be there for me, but it's not a requirement for my happiness.
Right.
So
And
I get
that's
that's what that means. It's not being in a romantic relationship is not a requirement for my happiness. I am happy with or without it. I'm content with or without it. I'm strong and independent with or without it.
mm-hmm.
If I have it, great. If not, whatever. I'll survive,
Mm-hmm.
But
And
it's those
yeah, and
people.
that's kind of what I try to tell him too, is like, you got
Mhm.
to find yourself, but like, actually, because every time you were like, what are we doing this weekend? Where are we going this weekend? What are we doing tomorrow? Like, you created all your plans around someone else. And now you're just like, he's like, what do I do with all this free time? And I'm like, bro, I'm doing all kinds of stuff in my free time because I don't have anything to tie me down with. I almost feel like I may be making some sacrifices to my single self when I do find someone. So,
What are you
that's
supposed to do? I don't even think you should do that, Bradley.
no, I know.
How
But I think ideally I would like to find someone who would like to come along and do those things with me. Like, ooh, I
about
want to go kayaking this week. And they're like, hell yeah, let's go. And I'm like, good. I have
how
two
about
kayaks. Let's go.
finding someone worth sacrificing for?
Yeah. And not sacrificing too much for, but
Someone you want to give things up for, someone who you go, yeah, you know what? I would much rather spend my time with this person than spend time doing whatever it is I do alone.
and true. And I know myself,
Mhm,
and I know that in a relationship, I'm a fairly different person. On the
mhm,
weekends right now, I got nothing going on. If
mhm.
someone says, let's go drinking, I'm like, yep, I'm there. But if I had someone else, I'd be like, what do you want to do? And if they were like, let's go drinking, I'd be like, cool, that sounds fun. Or if they were like, you know
Mhm.
what? I just want to like order some pizza and stay in and watch movies and cuddle, I'd be like, that sounds good too, though. So it's not that I would even be sacrificing. It's just I know that my not priorities change, but my idea of a good time, you know? Because right now I'm just like, well, you're not going to meet anyone if you don't put yourself out there, and it's not like I even really get numbers at the bar, but you never know, you know? I'm not going to close any doors, but
I will.
I'm also not going to go to places I normally don't frequent. Like, people are like, oh, go to the library, go to a church. And I'm like, I'm not going to go to a church and meet a girl who's religious and then be like, by the way, I'm not religious. I was there to just pick up chicks. She'll be like,
Yeah.
what?
It doesn't work. That's the best thing about being yourself. So, like, I dance and I love to dance and I go out dancing
Mm-hmm.
and I enjoy meeting people who are other dancers. You share that common ground and you know
Mm-hmm.
that that common ground is something you could build off of.
Yeah.
Best thing about being you, being your authentic you, and meeting people who also go, I like this authentic person. They're sexy, they're capable, they're smart, and they
Right.
like the same things I do. Perfect.
Right. They're confident in all the events and the things that they're doing. Like, they seem like they got themselves figured out, like, yep, pretty much.
It's a way to do it for sure.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So yeah, back to him to be about just people leaving long relationships as well. Advice was be you, but always give the why when you tell someone just be yourself, get used to being alone, like just why. And, he was like, I just, I miss her so much and I miss the things we used to do. And I'm like, and
Oh,
by losing these things though, you're going to, you need to be single for a little while because now you're going to appreciate something like that when you find it again, you
mm,
know? And that's the thing about love that I really think is sad but true is I think everyone needs to lose a love in their life.
mm,
Like not only should everyone have love in their life, but everyone should lose love. Because otherwise, you're single, you're normal, you find someone that you love and you love them, and then you grow together. And then eventually, if there's any issues that come up, it could be small things and you end up fighting over small things. And it's like, if you were to lose them and have to find that again and be single for years, you may not care so much that they leave the toilet seat up. You
yeah.
may not care so much that they don't rinse their plates off. Just make them do the dishes or just the little things. It's just like, you can let those things go for, I don't know, a good person. And it's like, why would you want to cause a fight about not getting the clothes in the hamper when
Mm.
it's like, really though, do we need to have a fight over this? Like, is it worth potentially losing you and driving you away? It's
Yeah,
not
you learn
worth
to
it.
cherish. You learn to cherish what you have,
Yeah.
especially when you've lost something that was so valuable to you and you get it back again. You really learn to cherish it
Yeah.
and treat it right and treat it with respect and compassion and love.
Because you know how easily you could lose it over the little things that you say and do. I mean,
Mhm.
honestly, my two friends here, what if not working at a bar would keep them together? Would they both be happier?
Mhm.
Um, I feel like it may have happened eventually anyway, but I don't know. Would they have been able to make it work? Who knows? It's just, but you got to lose that now. Be single for a while. You're both going to have maybe some shitty relationships, hopefully not, but you never know. But you'll also be single for a while. And, once you're single for a while, you'll be like, hey, 2, 3, 4 years, you'll be like, I'm going to really appreciate, like maybe her working at a bar really won't be so much of an issue. She's not getting guys numbers. She's not going home with them. She's not getting rides. They're not buying, I mean, maybe a shot or two, but she's not even 21. Or wait, I think she is now.
Yeah,
So
you
she
have to be
she
21
could
to
she
work at
could
a
check
bar.
those. No, not in Wisconsin, not around here.
What?
You got to be
You
18.
what?
Yeah, 18 or 19.
What?
Yeah, she's been working at the bar for a while. She hasn't been 21 the whole time.
You oh, that's ridiculous. So you can
Yeah, you can
but you
serve
had to,
beer
be 20,
before
you
you
have to
can
be
drink it.
21 to sell alcohol.
It might be if they serve food. That might be why you can do it.
Mm,
But yeah, no, you do not need to be 21. You
okay.
just need to take the classes to be able to identify people who aren't 21 or at least look 30. I took the bartending classes myself not too long ago, but never got a job as a bartender. Thought that would be a good route, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if I would have made enough money being a
I think
guy,
you should be a psychologist. Like, what are you waiting for?
I know. I know. You say it. I have a few other friends who say it. I always
A
tell
therapist. Just
I
become like a licensed clinical, just become a licensed therapist. Like,
can I just go take a test? And they're like, all right, this guy's not a total asshole. He kind of
uh,
knows some
you know
things.
what? I'll tell you what, when I get licensed and like you can work under my license and hopefully it'll go well.
Deal. Yeah. Hopefully I don't screw up.
Uh, no, I'm gonna have a private practice someday. I will. Just watch.
Cool. I could at least be the secretary and pre-screen them.
Yeah, something. Do intakes. I don't know.
Sure, 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 sure.
I could take you on as an intern and like just pay you really well.
Really highly paid intern. Actually, sometimes when you can't even make it to the office, I just sit there and take over. I always, it's funny because ever since you said this years
Mm,
ago about that I should go maybe down that road, I've genuinely thought about it a few times and brought it up with other people. And I always talk about you as my psychology friend who also tries to entice me to go down that path. But I always see myself as like the guy who'd show up in pajama pants, like with a cup of coffee, and they're like, "Hey man, what's up?" And my thing is like, you know, I I think I have an innate ability to get people to open up to me, but I think part of it is because I open up, and I also the biggest thing to me is I give them a safe space.
Mm-hmm.
I make them feel safe and comfortable, and that they can. I don't know if this is taught in psychology, but this is why I get people to open up to me, is that I'm genuinely interested, because I genuinely do want to leave you after this conversation with a better state of mind and to feel better about yourself, because that gives me what dopamine, endorphin, whatever it is, when I know that I've changed someone's life for the better over a
Pause,
four
Bradley.
hour conversation.
Pause right there. Do you understand what you just said? That is a purpose.
Yeah, definitely. I
That
definitely
is
think,
your, but this is why I met you. And I was like, you should become a clinical psychologist. You just said, I get a hit of dopamine when I know that I've left you better.
yeah,
And do that for a career? Could you imagine?
I know it would be a great career. It sure would. Yeah.
Yeah.
But now I got to jump through the hoops for like 6 to 8 years. Like, come on.
It's
Can't
only six
teach.
to 8 years out of a whole lifetime. You'd live for 100 years.
My thing is too is I have a fairly good grasp of a lot of things, and there's nothing I also, if I had a few questions here and there along the road, that I wouldn't be able to maybe just look up on Google or something. Like I do enough research and psychology on my own that it's like to. I also don't agree with the fact that I need a piece of paper to tell me that I can do something that I'm just innately good at doing.
Exactly. So become a coach.
True. Then
You don't
I
need
don't
any
know.
paperwork. There's like certified coaches, but that's all bullshit anyways. It's not legitimate. Getting a license is supposedly legitimate, but once again, it's just some guy or some group saying, hey, we should, regulate this. And so they've decided. And so as a clinical psychologist, I have to not jump through hoops, but I have to maintain a level of education and
Mhm.
certifications and education in order
That they
to,
can tax and bill and fee and fine, and I'm like, but
which
I'm
I'm
just meeting drunken people at parties, and they're just like, yeah, I'm going through a breakup, and I'm like, ooh, tell me about it. And now it's 6 a.m. and we just had a 4 hour convo about your life, and then they come away. And that's the thing too, is with him, I was like, I only have a lot of bad news for him, like finding what you're looking for in a partner is going to be slightly difficult unless you find someone who's more mature, and seen some things and doesn't need to experience that life, or, you got to wait some time. So,
yeah.
yeah, back about me, not to divert the conversation. I would enjoy that, but we'll see in time. For right now, the helping the close friends and stuff for now is good. I've
You
always,
just
and
build
I don't
on.
know where it came from. I've always been that friend that people end up coming to with issues, and I think it's just because I do listen and I am curious about psychology and other people. Like I love puzzles and problem solving, and I think that other people and their psyche is a problem to me in itself. So
Mm,
I like figuring them out, and
mm,
then I'm able to help them.
mm,
And what I've learned, at least in earlier years, for a lot of girls, and any younger girls who are listening to this, um, a lot of times they just need to say what they're thinking out loud to someone, and then they're like, oh, like, yeah. And then he pushed me in a closet, and I was like, oh, how would you feel if one of your friends told you that their boyfriend pushed them in a closet, left them there for a few hours, and went to go play video games with their friends? And when they came back, they expected you to still be in their room when they got back. Like, how? Like, you just told me this out loud. And then sometimes they'd be like, all right, yeah, I can tell by the look on your face that is kind of fucking stupid. And I'm like, and I didn't say a word, did I? I didn't say a word. You literally just said that out loud, and I'm looking at you like you're crazy. And you're like, okay, yeah, that's
mhm.
crazy, yeah. uh,
Silence, I think, is one of the best way, because if you're just silent when someone's talking, sometimes they'll just keep talking. They'll figure it out themselves. Most people have the
mhm.
answers. We're pretty smart beings as it is. And if you're just quiet and you like give that a natural reaction that you would have, like that's a story. Like that's pretty intense. And they go,
Yeah,
oh, it is.
yeah. Be
Mhm.
like, huh? Like, do you think that? if your friend told you that you'd be okay with it? What if your dad did that to your mother? Would you think that's okay? You know,
Mhm. I like
you'd
the
be like,
question.
oh, that's fine.
If your friend were to like, have this experience, what
The
advice would
same
you give this
experience
one?
you just had. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is
What would
that
your
okay?
reaction be?
Like,
What
oh, I
advice?
wouldn't stand for that. Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
You're
Okay.
going to? Why would you? Like,
But you'll let yourself go through that. Uh-huh. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So a lot of times people just need to say out loud what they're thinking or what's going on to them. And they're like, ooh, I am putting up with a lot of shit. Like, you
yeah.
are, aren't you?
Yeah. But
Hmm.
there are nice, respectful, considerate, loving people in the world who would treat me how I want to be treated.
Yeah.
Let's go find them. They're out there. They are
Right.